It wasn't just the folding chair that wobbled when I sat down. It was something quieter, older, something inside me. The overflow table was half a room away from the main reception. We were pressed near the catering trays, behind a pillar draped in fake ivy, as if the planner had tried to hide us with deliberate kindness. They called it the casual cousins table. But I knew what it was. An exile. The music was louder back here, the speakers blaring above our heads while the real guests laughed beneath chandeliers. My linen napkin had a crease like it had been ironed in a rush. I glanced at the place cards. They'd spelled my name wrong, again. Sammy, instead of Sammy. One of those errors that feels like a paper cut, small, but it stings every time. I had flown in alone, bought my own dress, booked the cheapest hotel I could find, and brought the gift they listed on the registry, a rice cooker, mid-range, not too flashy. The kind of thing I imagined someone like her would use once before it ended up forgotten under a counter. She, my sister, Claire, the bride. She looked beautiful, of course. Everyone said so. The kind of beauty people don't question, just accept, like gravity. Hair in soft waves, makeup like a whisper, and a smile that curled more for cameras than people. I wasn't in the family photos, not officially. I caught a glimpse of the printed shot schedule while walking past her planner's clipboard. Immediate family, mom, dad, Claire, Jordan. That was it. I watched them take it near the garden fountain, Claire's dress pooling like a soft cloud on the grass. I stood by the hydrangeas, pretending to text. It had been like this for years, me standing outside the frame. Flashback. I was 14 the first time I heard my mom say, "Well, Claire's the one who's going places." It was during dinner. Claire had just been accepted into some elite dance camp. I had brought home a drawing, a charcoal portrait of our dog. My art teacher called it gifted, but no one passed it around the table. It sat in my lap like a secret I wasn't meant to bring to the surface. Claire got hugs. I got, "That's nice, honey." That's how it always was. Claire got the spotlight. I got the edges, the corners of rooms, the back seats of cars, the untaken side of shared stories. At the wedding, the first course was some sort of beet tart. It came plated like a magazine ad, a sprig of something green I couldn't name. I poked at it while listening to someone's toddler scream 2 tables over. The sound matched how I felt, too loud, too unseen. No one really talked to me. Aunt Lisa waved once. Uncle Ron gave me a thumbs up across the room like he couldn't remember if we'd spoken yet. I watched my parents laugh at the head table, their faces lit by candlelight and pride. That was the part that hurt the most. How easy it was for them to enjoy it without me. I wasn't angry. Not in the way people think of anger. Not fists or shouting. Just tired. Bone tired of reaching for something that never reached back. During the father-daughter dance, I watched my dad spin Claire slowly under strings of garden lights. His eyes were wet. I remembered when he taught her to dance in the living room, when she was 8 and I was 5. I'd tried to cut in once. He had laughed. "Not your turn yet, Bug." It never was. After dessert, some deconstructed cheesecake I didn't finish, I stepped outside. The air was sharp, late fall chill sinking into my shoulders through the thin wrap I'd borrowed from a coworker. I called a rideshare, paid for it myself, didn't say goodbye. The rideshare driver didn't say much. He glanced at me through the rear view once, adjusted the radio to something soft and instrumental, then left me alone with the hum of tires and the soft ache behind my ribs. I watched the houses go by, gold-lit windows against the late autumn dark. Somewhere between the manicured suburbs and the city outskirts, I realized I was still clutching the wedding favor, a tiny glass jar of homemade honey with C+J etched on a sticker. I turned it in my hand slowly. It was warm from my palm. Claire was always sweet, sweet in a way that got her forgiven quickly, sweet in the way that felt rehearsed, but never questioned. I wondered if she knew how many apologies I swallowed for her over the years, how many silences I kept because it was easier for one of us to be invisible than for both of us to break. Flashback. We were teenagers. She had snuck out, again, to see a boy. It was past midnight when Dad caught the sound of the screen door, but I was the one who took the blame. I'd been in the kitchen getting water when he stormed in. Claire, barefoot behind the hedge, texted me from outside. "Say it was you. Please, just this once." I did. I don't even remember how I explained it. Some story about needing air, about walking around the block. My voice shook. I was grounded for 2 weeks. She brought me a Starbucks card 2 days later, said, "You're the best." Like that erased everything. At the hotel, I peeled off the dress and laid it across the desk chair. The zipper had stuck earlier that evening. I'd had to wrestle with it alone in a public restroom stall, sweating under fluorescent light while someone waited outside and knocked twice. "Almost done," I'd lied. The bedspread smelled like detergent and lemon. The air unit rattled faintly. I sat on the edge of the mattress, still in my bra, knees together, phone in hand. There were no new messages. I scrolled, not looking for anything specific, just a thumb habit. Then I opened my photos, looked at the few I'd taken that day, a blurry snap of the seating card, a half-full champagne glass, my shoes on bathroom tiles. None of Claire. None of me. The next morning, I checked out without bothering with the free breakfast. I stopped at a corner cafe and ordered something strong. The barista smiled and wrote Sammy with 2 M's and a heart over the I. I almost cried. I found a quiet table near the window. A small one with a chipped leg and a view of a cracked sidewalk. A woman walked by holding her child's hand. The kid was humming, swinging a stuffed giraffe. My chest felt tight in a way I didn't have a name for. I sipped slowly. Then, out of habit or weakness, I opened my email. There it was, a message from Claire, sent around 1:24 a.m. Subject, "Hey, are you mad?" "Hey, Sammy, I hope you had fun yesterday. I'm sorry we didn't get to talk much. It was so hectic and crazy and... Also, did you leave early? Mom said you were acting weird. Anyway, let's catch up soon, okay? Love you." See, there was something sharp in me after reading it. Not a knife, more like a splinter. Small, buried, aching. She always did that. Called me weird when I got quiet. Sensitive when I was hurt. Dramatic when I asked for space. I didn't reply. Later that day, I sat at the bus terminal with my carry-on tucked under my feet and my scarf pulled tight around my throat. An older woman sat across from me. She was knitting something blue. She didn't speak, but she looked kind. I wanted to ask her if it was always like this. If family ever stops making you feel like furniture. If we ever stop reaching for people who keep looking past us. But I didn't. I just watched the rhythm of her hands, the loop and pull of soft wool through patient fingers. And I waited. When I got back to my apartment, the air smelled like stillness. The kind of quiet that settles when you've been gone for just long enough for your absence to forget you. A few dishes in the sink, an unopened envelope from the electric company on the counter, my coat still draped over the same chair I left it on, like it had been waiting for someone more important to come home. I didn't unpack. I just kicked off my shoes and let my bag fall where it wanted. My body felt like it wasn't mine, like someone had rented it for a weekend, left it dented and tired. I turned on one lamp. The soft yellow light didn't ask for much, neither did I. The rice cooker I had gifted Claire, the one I chose off her registry, the one I had shipped directly to their new apartment, flashed in my head suddenly. I pictured it unopened in a box, already forgotten behind some pile of more important gifts. I had imagined her using it. I imagined her thinking of me. I imagined her saying thank you in a way that felt like she meant it. But there had been no card, no word, just a forwarded confirmation email from the website. "Thanks for your order, Samantha." I stayed on the couch most of that week. Didn't go to the studio. My sketchbook stayed closed, piled like thin regrets on the windowsill. I scrolled through social media like it was homework. Wedding photos already uploaded, tagged, liked by people who hadn't spoken to me since high school. Claire looked flawless, again. Her caption read, "Surrounded by so much love." I stared at that line longer than I should have, reread it until the word surrounded felt like a bruise. My parents were in so many of the pictures, my mother's hand on Claire's back in one, my father helping her adjust her veil in another. There was one where they all laughed together, heads tilted just enough to look candid, like a magazine cover of someone else's perfect family. There were no photos of me, of course not. I had taken a selfie in the bathroom that day, just one. My eyes looked tired, lips pressed like they weren't sure if they belonged there. I hadn't posted it, but I looked at it now. I cropped the stall door out, adjusted the shadows, brightened the edges just slightly, and I posted it. Captioned it simply, "Made it through." Claire commented 10 minutes later, "You looked so pretty." I didn't reply. I didn't like the comment. I let it sit there, like a voicemail I never planned to open. 2 nights later, I got a voicemail from Mom. "Hi, sweetie. Just wanted to say it was so nice to see you at the wedding. Sorry we didn't get to talk much. You know how it is, things were just so busy. Hope you got home safe. Claire said you left kind of suddenly. Anyway, let's catch up soon, okay? Love you." She hung up without waiting for a response. Flashback. I was 17. College acceptance letters had just started coming in. I got into an arts program in Chicago. My guidance counselor said it was one of the best in the country. I brought the letter home and laid it gently on the dining table, right next to Dad's coffee mug. Mom glanced at it. "Chicago's so far," she said. "Isn't there a state school that has art?" Claire had just gotten into a university an hour away. They ordered pizza that night to celebrate. For her. They didn't even ask about my scholarship. The next weekend, I took a train to the art museum. Alone. I spent hours in front of a painting of a girl in a green coat, her expression unreadable, her hands hidden inside her sleeves. There was something about the way she was standing, like she had been waiting to be noticed for a very long time. I sat on a bench across from her and just breathed. The quiet there felt different than the one in my apartment. Less like absence, more like space. And I thought, maybe that's all I'd ever wanted. Space, not attention, not praise. Just a place where I didn't feel like I had to prove I deserved to be there. On the way home, I passed a card shop. I bought one on impulse. It had a drawing of a single chair beside a window, and the words, "You don't need to be seen to be real." I didn't know who I bought it for, maybe myself. Maybe the girl in the painting. Maybe the part of me that still hoped someone, someday, might finally say, "I missed you in the picture." A week passed, then another. No one followed up. Not Mom, not Dad, not Claire. I started counting in small ways. How many days since the wedding? How many meals eaten in silence? How many cups stacked in the sink before I cared enough to rinse them? It wasn't loneliness I felt. It was something quieter, flatter, like being under water too long. Things still moved around me, but with muffled edges. Dull light. On Friday night, I found myself walking to the bookstore near my apartment. It was the kind that stayed open late, with creaky floors and dust-scented corners. The owner always played jazz on a record player, soft enough to feel like memory. I didn't need another book, but I wanted to be in a room that didn't ask me for anything. I wandered into the poetry section and ran my fingers along the spines. That's when I saw it, a collection I used to love in college. The same dog-eared copy I'd once lent Claire before her first heartbreak. I told her the poems were like bandages made of glass, beautiful but sharp in the way truth is. She gave it back weeks later, untouched, said she didn't get it, said it was too sad. I bought it again, for myself. That night, I did something I hadn't done in years. I took out my sketch pad. The charcoal was still tucked into the zipper pocket of my bag. The stick was cracked in half. I peeled back the edge of the paper like I was afraid of it. And I drew. Not for anyone else. Not for a show. Not for approval. Just because my hands needed to. It started as a window. Fogged. Soft. Then a hand. A single hand pressed to the glass, as if asking a question no one ever answered. I didn't finish it, but I slept better that night than I had in weeks. The next morning, Claire messaged again. This time it was a photo. A framed print of her and Jordan, holding champagne, the golden hour light behind them like a scene from a movie. Everyone looked perfect. Beneath the image, "Finally got our favorite shot printed. Can't wait to hang it up." I stared at it for a long time. I zoomed in. There, just barely in the background, was my elbow. Out of focus, cut off. It made me laugh, not loud, just a breath that hurt a little going out. I didn't respond, again. Instead, I went to my kitchen cabinet, reached for a chipped mug I hadn't used since winter. It was the one Claire gave me on her first Christmas with Jordan. A cute, minimal thing with the words "Number One Sister" stamped in faded gold. I stood there for a while. Then I put it in a paper bag, along with a few other things I'd been pretending to still like. The sweater Mom gave me 2 years ago, the itchy one with the tight collar. The candle from Dad, pine-scented even though he knew I hated it. A small clutch Claire handed down to me last spring because it didn't match her anymore. None of it matched me either. I walked the bag to the donation bin on 8th and Delaney. Didn't think twice, just dropped it in. It felt like deleting something. Not to hurt anyone, but to stop carrying weight no one else noticed I held. Flashback. I was 20, home for Christmas. Claire had just brought Jordan over for the first time. There were gifts under the tree, but only 3 had my name. One from Mom, socks, one from Dad, a grocery store gift card, and one from Claire, the mug. Jordan had a pile. They called him part of the family already. After dinner, they all played charades. I offered to wash dishes. Mom said, "Oh, sweetie, you don't have to," but I did it anyway. It was easier to feel useful than to pretend I was included. Back in the present, I sat on my fire escape that evening, wrapped in my thinnest blanket. The city smelled like concrete and the tail end of rain. Below, someone was playing piano, off-key but soft. I listened for a long time. Then I pulled out my phone and opened a blank message to Claire. Typed 3 words. I needed space. I didn't send it. I just let the words sit there, black on white, until the screen dimmed itself. Sometimes silence is the only language they understand. Claire finally called me 2 weeks after the wedding. Not a message. Not a tag. A real call. It rang 3 times before I answered. "Hey," I said, voice flat, fingers still dusted with charcoal from the sketch I was working on. Her voice came bright, practiced. "Sammy, oh my God, it's been forever." It hadn't, but I let her say it anyway. I leaned back on the floor, the phone balanced on my chest. My apartment was quiet, except for the soft hum of the radiator and the sound of Claire filling the silence like she always had. Fast, sparkly, shallow. She talked about their honeymoon plans, how Jordan's aunt was helping them pick out curtain rods, how exhausting it was going through wedding photos. Then she paused, cleared her throat like she was preparing for something that tasted awkward in her mouth. "Listen, did something happen at the wedding?" I didn't answer right away, because the truth was, nothing had happened. No argument, no scene, no moment loud enough to hold up like proof. Only a long, slow ache. The kind that accumulates in corners until you forget it's even pain. "I just felt out of place," I said. Claire laughed, a soft, dismissive flutter. "Oh, come on, Sam. You were just at the cousins' table. It's not like it was personal." I stared at the ceiling. That phrase again. Not personal. Like the seating chart designed by someone who hadn't spoken to me in months was a math problem. Like spelling my name wrong was just a typo. Like being forgotten was a clerical error, not a pattern. "I paid for my own flight," I said. She paused. "What?" "My gift, my dress, my hotel, the Uber, I paid for it all." "Well, yeah," she said, confused. "I mean, it's normal, isn't it?" I almost said it. "I paid for yours too. That birthday she forgot. That bailout from your credit card debt in college. That week you stayed in my apartment for a little break from Mom. All of it." But I didn't say any of that, because this wasn't about the money. It was about the fact that she hadn't noticed. Not once. Not even to say thank you. So I said nothing. Silence stretched between us, but this time it belonged to me. "Well," she said after a beat, her voice thinning, "I just hope you're not mad." "I'm not mad," I said, and it was true. I was something else. Something heavier. Something that looked a lot like letting go. Later that night, I dug through my old photo albums, the kind with sticky plastic sheets and curled Polaroids, ones I hadn't looked at in years. There was one of Claire and me in matching red coats, taken during a snow day when we were small. She had her tongue out to catch flakes. I was staring straight at the camera, my mitten in hers. I touched the corner of the photo. I missed that girl. Not her. Me. The version of myself who still believed that love was earned. That if I was good enough, small enough, careful enough, they'd let me stay at the main table. That I'd be invited in. Flashback. I was 8 when I started setting the table for dinner without being asked. Forks neatly aligned, napkins folded twice. It was a way to be useful, to be needed. Claire never helped. She danced barefoot in the hallway, playing with Dad's old camcorder, calling herself a star in training. They called it charm. They called mine helpfulness. I was praised for being easy. She was loved for being bright. The next morning, I walked to the small print shop near the corner laundromat. I brought my charcoal sketch, the hand on the fogged window, and asked them to scan it, clean the contrast, and print it large. The girl behind the counter smiled. "This is really beautiful," she said. I hadn't heard that in a while. I nodded, cheeks hot. "Thanks." When I got home, I framed it, hung it by my kitchen table, right where the wall used to feel blank and undeserving. Now, it belonged to me. No signature, no flourish, just quiet proof that I was here, that I had made something, that I didn't need a spotlight, only space. That evening, I received another message from Claire. A photo again. It was her and Mom. Shopping, matching tote bags, fall leaves in the background, both of them beaming. The caption read, "Mother-Daughter Day, love her so much." She didn't tag me, didn't mention me, didn't notice that I hadn't responded in days. And for the first time, I didn't flinch. I just watched the light move across my apartment floor, pale and slow, the kind of light that forgives nothing but softens everything. I didn't tell anyone when my birthday passed. Not because I was testing them, not because I was hoping for a surprise, but because I wanted to know what silence, uninterrupted, actually felt like. The day arrived quietly. A Tuesday. Cold. The kind of cold that holds your bones like a memory. I made myself tea in the chipped blue mug I'd bought from a thrift store last month, a replacement for the #1 sister one I'd donated. I didn't check my phone that morning, didn't refresh messages, didn't scroll, didn't reach for the places I used to go looking for crumbs of acknowledgement. Instead, I went to the corner bakery and bought myself a slice of cake, lemon with lavender frosting. Not my favorite, but something about it felt deliberate, like I was choosing something soft and strange and entirely mine. The woman behind the counter asked, "Would you like a candle?" I nodded. She brought one out from under the register, a tiny spiral pink one, and stuck it in the cake with a smile that didn't feel forced. "You celebrating something?" she asked. I hesitated, then I smiled back, just enough. "Yeah, me dot. I ate it on a park bench, alone." The candle flickered once, caught in a soft breeze, then went out before I could even make a wish. It felt perfect, in its own lonely kind of way. That evening, I finally opened my phone. One notification, a Facebook memory, celebrating Sammy's birthday with wine and chaos. A photo from 5 years ago. Claire had posted it then. We were at some rooftop bar she liked. I remembered I had paid the tab that night. Remembered how she left early, tipsy and laughing into her phone, leaving me with the check and 3 half-drunk glasses. Underneath the memory, a new comment from her that read, "Can't believe this was 5 years ago. Miss this." She hadn't called, hadn't texted, just a recycled memory with a fake exclamation. I didn't reply, didn't like it, didn't correct her. That was the first moment I realized I didn't owe her anything anymore. Flashback. I was 23, had just moved into this apartment. Cheap, crooked floors, paint peeling around the windows, but it was mine. Claire had visited once, stayed 20 minutes, complained about the neighborhood, about how small the kitchen was. At the door, she kissed my cheek and said, "I could never live like this." But I'm proud of you for doing your little art thing. My little art thing, and I nodded then. But later that night, I cried into a bowl of cereal on the floor. There wasn't furniture yet, just boxes, just silence, just the echo of every time I'd called her my best friend. Back in the present, I stood in my kitchen and looked at my newest drawing. It was a pair of chairs. One, ornate and wide, the kind you'd see at a wedding, gilded edges, upholstered, untouched. The other, wooden, a little cracked, one leg slightly shorter, worn but real, lived in. Mine. The next day, Mom called. I let it ring. 5 times, 6, then voicemail. Hi, sweetheart. We missed you last weekend. We had dinner with Claire and Jordan. I thought maybe you'd want to come, but you've been so distant lately. I hope everything is okay. You know we love you, right? I stared at the wall as the message played, feeling nothing and everything at once. It ended with her usual, call when you can, love you. That night I sat at my kitchen table, just me, a bowl of soup, and the lamp I'd found at a flea market for $10. I opened my sketch pad and wrote at the top of the next blank page, being forgotten is not the same as being free. Then I started drawing again. A door this time, slightly open, light pouring in, not dramatic, not grand, just an invitation to leave, or maybe to return someday on my own terms. The day the heating bill came, I stared at it longer than I should have. It sat on my kitchen table, unopened for most of the morning, like it was waiting for a choice to be made. I knew it would be high. The radiators had been clanking all week, hissing like ghosts trying to say something I didn't want to hear. I opened it eventually, read the total, quietly exhaled. Then I logged into the utility account and hovered my mouse over the payment button. The same account I had once used to cover part of the house utilities for Mom and Dad, quietly, for 2 winters. The same password, still. CFamily123. I changed it. Then I removed the saved addresses, the reminders, the auto payments, and I paid only mine. It felt small, petty even. But there was a kind of power in it. Not revenge, just realignment. A shifting of weight back into my own hands. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't have to. I got an email from Dad later that week. Subject, hey, power issue? Hey kiddo, noticed the house was colder than usual today. Mom said the heat's acting up. We thought maybe the payment glitched or something? Let me know if you still have access to that old account. You're better with this stuff than me. Hope all's well. Dad. I stared at it for a long time. There was no question mark at the end of hope all's well. Just a period. I didn't reply right away. I made tea instead. Then I walked into my bedroom, sat on the edge of my bed, and looked at the wall where my latest drawing hung, the door with the light spilling in. I'd tacked a scrap of paper beneath it, handwritten in pencil. Peace is the space you build when no one saves you. I picked up my phone, typed a reply to Dad, simple, final. Hey, I'm not on that account anymore. I've only been paying for my apartment. No apology, no excuse, just truth. His response came 2 hours later. Oh, okay, we'll figure it out. That was all. I read it twice, expected more. But the silence that followed felt earned, maybe even fair. Flashback. I was 15 when I overheard them talking about me in the kitchen. I had just gotten back from my part-time job at the art store. Claire was home from dance practice, eating pasta on the couch. Mom whispered, "She's so serious lately. Everything with her is always so intense." Dad said, "She's sensitive. Always has been. Just needs to lighten up." Claire had laughed, that floaty, effortless laugh she used to get away with everything. And I had stood in the hallway, coat still on, shoes wet from rain, invisible and too much all at once. That night, I sat on my fire escape again. Same blanket, different air, a little colder, a little cleaner. I brought my sketch pad with me this time. Drew slowly, no plan. A girl this time. Small figure in a large field. No path beneath her. Just open space. Wind. She wasn't moving forward or back, just standing still, coat billowing, watching the sky. I didn't know if she was lost or found. Maybe both, maybe neither. Maybe that's what becoming yourself looks like. Not arrival, not victory, just no longer waiting to be invited. Claire sent me an invitation in early spring. It came by mail. Real paper, real envelope, with gold leaf and a printed map of the venue. Baby shower. Come celebrate Baby K love, Claire plus Jordan. Inside, there was a handwritten note in the corner. Would love to see you. Been too long. Hope you can make it. XO. I set it down gently. The gold caught the light. It was the kind of invitation you can't technically say no to. Family, celebration, new life. But it was also the kind you send when you don't notice you haven't really spoken to someone in months, when love is assumed, not nurtured. I read the note again. There was no mention of my name. No Sammy. No, I miss you. No, I'm sorry. Just hope. Just assumption. I left it on the counter for a week. Then I recycled it. Flashback. When I was 7, I drew a picture of my future house. A quiet cottage, lots of windows, and a studio in the back. I showed it to Claire. She laughed. Where are the people? I looked down, confused. I don't know, I said. I guess I hadn't drawn them yet. She shook her head like that was the saddest thing she'd ever heard. But I didn't think it was sad. Even then, I think I knew some homes are made for solitude. Some lives bloom quietly. I never responded to the invitation, not because I hated her, but because I no longer needed the chair she never meant to set for me. That weekend, I did something small, something I had once promised myself. I hosted a showing. Not a big one. Just 10 or 12 pieces, hung carefully along the walls of the small cafe I'd been visiting for years. The owner offered me the space for free, said, "Your drawings have a kind of hush I want to sit inside." I brought my own nails, my own hammer. I wore the soft black sweater I bought last fall, the one no one had picked out for me. I stood beside my drawings with a quietness that didn't ache anymore. People trickled in. They lingered, asked questions. A woman even cried in front of the piece titled Overflow, a sketch of a table with only one chair, turned slightly away from the light. She touched her chest and whispered, "I know this feeling." I nodded, "Me too." Near closing, someone left a card on the display table. No name, just 7 words written in thin, slanted ink. You were always enough, even unseen. I kept that one, taped it to the back of my bedroom door where the morning light could hit it. The night after the showing, I lit a candle on the fire escape, just because. The city was soft, quiet in its own way. I thought of Claire, of my parents, of the wedding, of the seating chart, of the missed birthdays and the long voicemails and the moments they didn't realize I needed them to see me. I didn't feel anger, just absence. Like they were a book I'd finally finished. Pages I could still remember, but no longer needed to reread. I watched the candle flicker out. Not sudden, just slow. Software, I got a message from Claire months later, after the baby came. It was a photo of her daughter, wrapped in pastel, eyes closed. Her name is Elodie. She looks like me. I stared at the baby's face for a long time. I typed a reply, "She's beautiful. I hope she always feels seen." Then I turned my phone over, and I made dinner, alone and full.